Hey, everybody out there in podcast land. Hope you have a great 4th of July. Welcome to the latest episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I am the conquistador, Dave Height.
Of course, lots of controversy, lots of stuff to talk about this week in sports. And as always, here during the summer, we will talk baseball first and foremost.
Yep. There's a lot going on. People losing their damn minds all over the place.
Yep.
About everything. And it's getting frickin' stupid.
You can blame the heat. You can blame the stupidity of politics, Hollywood, whatever you want. But yeah, this is turning into a really kind of silly, ridiculous summer. People getting mad about inflation, gas prices, and it's carrying over into our sports world. Tell it to the Angels and the Mariners.
Good God.
One of the most ridiculous fights I've ever seen in baseball history. Not necessarily because of what happened. You know, you hit Jesse Winkler in the ass, which is where you're supposed to hit him. If you're going to send a message, you hit a guy in the ass.
You know it. You had to know it was coming. But Winkler lost his mind, wouldn't let it go, and created this mass chaos. This needs to leave the game of baseball. There's no room for it anymore. These stupid-ass unwritten rules have got to go away.
And the only way you're going to get rid of it is to up the penalties. You're going to have to up the penalties even more than what they're giving right now. But I find this whole incident funny. Again, not the brawl itself, but then afterwards, what was it? An Angels player comes out and chucks a whole tray of sunflower seed packets out onto the field. And
yeah,
then,
that was going to be one of my dumbasses of the week. What is it? Raziel Iglesias? That was just freaking stupid. Pitcher. So out of it, people were ejected, but you wound up with 12 suspensions. 3 Mariners, of course. Winker, who got hit in the ass. Shortstop he's suspended 7 games. Their shortstop Crawford 5 games, and outfielder Rodriguez 2 games. The Angels wound up with 9 suspensions. Players and coaches. Their manager, Phil Nevin, gets the most at 10 games.
The replacement, of course, for Joe Madden.
Yep. And then you wind up with their pitcher who threw the pitch only wound up with 3 games. But then you got Rendon, who's on the IL.
That's the one. That's the one that really
this idiot
boggles my mind.
5 games says to be served once he comes off the IL.
Next year.
Because he's done. Moron. Then their pitching coach, Chitty, 5 games.
Chitty, bang, bang.
Exactly. Then you got their 2 pitchers, Tepera and Iglesias. Tepera 3 games, Iglesias 2. Their bench coach, Montgomery 2 games. Their freaking interpreter, their damn team interpreter got 2 games.
Now here's the thing. He's the interpreter, but I don't think he's the interpreter for the entire team.
No, just for 1 or 2 of their players.
Yeah, because they've got another interpreter for Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, my God.
I think this is the interpreter for the Latin players.
And then their catching coach, a game. Absolutely freaking ridiculous.
And then, of course, they lose Archie Bradley, one of their best bullpen pitchers, breaks his elbow in this
Not
whole
in
melee.
The fight. Tried to get over the fence out of the dugout to get involved in it. He fell and broke his elbow. There's one of my other dumbasses. I mean, my God. It's pathetic. It's got to end. And listening to an interview, Steve Stone said, you know, you might have the scuffle between the pitcher and the batter, but you've got 4 umps out there who should be able to diffuse it. If you want to make a statement, third guy in and on, those are the ones that you need to make a suspension for. And it needs to be a significant amount of time.
We're never going to fix anything, whether it's financial, punitive in this case, until these leagues get some balls and they say enough is enough.
There's
and I agree with you completely.
No reason for it. They have to stop throwing at each other to begin with. That has to end.
And I don't want to hear this crap this year about, because we're not allowed to use the sticky stuff. That's why there's more hit batters than there have been in the past.
That's still bullshit. That is absolute bullshit.
If you're that out of control,
then you shouldn't be pitching in the big leagues. You should be in the
minors. Right. Other injuries to discuss. The big one, of course, the reigning MVP, Bryce Harper, in the National League. Oof. Breaks his thumb on a hit by pitch. He is done for quite a while.
Yeah, surgery.
Supposedly might make it back this year, but
maybe, but
who knows?
Doubtful.
By the time he's actually healed up, are the Phillies still going to be in it?
Right.
Because, of course, baseball's plan to add that extra wild card to make things more competitive has backfired completely, and it's been a boring ass season. The teams that right now we're not even halfway through. Next week we'll hit the halfway point for most of the teams, and we already know probably most of the playoff teams at this point.
Yeah. There's not going to be.
You have got so many bottom feeders out there. It's ridiculous.
There's going to be very few surprises.
No, you've got like 10 teams already pretty much out of it.
Yeah.
Not mathematically, but they're pretty much out of it. 10 out of 30 teams, and you're not even halfway through the season yet. Way to go, Rob Manfred. Way to go. As Dave and I have been screaming and yelling about, you needed to put in a floor for salaries. You needed to make these teams spend at least $100 million. Now you've got the pathetic A's out there.
Money.
The pathetic Rays. The pathetic Royals. The Pirates. The Cubs.
The
Reds. That won't spend the money. Oh, well, the Cubs spend the money. They spend the money stupidly.
Yeah.
And now I'm hearing the Oakland situation is all a ploy, all a gamble for them to force Oakland's hand to let them out so they can go to Vegas. I don't know what's going on with the Rays. I mean, they're still good. They're still competitive. But we all know they won't spend the money to take that team to the next level where they can actually compete with the Astros and the Yankees.
Yeah,
they've got a great manager. They've got a good, solid young core.
God forbid they spend the money to keep anybody, and God forbid you bring in the pieces that will put you over the top.
If the Rays if they spent the money and could get one top-level starter, one superstar bat in that lineup, that's all they need.
That's all they need. But they won't spend the money.
No.
It would cost them, an extra $50 million a year?
50, 60 mil, which they can more than afford if they were a legitimate MLB team. And again, that's what baseball has got to do, is start forcing these teams that we've just talked about to become legitimate playoff contenders. Because now it's done. You've added an extra team on either side. There is no excuse. There is no reason for the Reds to be this pathetic. Now, the Pirates actually have a nice young core.
Yeah, but we've seen this before.
Right. We know 3 years from now they're going to trade those guys off.
Yeah. What about that whole crew that was with McCutchen? That was the next up-and-coming.
Well, they had Josh Harrison. They had Josh Bell. They always have decent guys coming through the system, but all they do is they sit there and wait until they got a year or two left on their deal, and then they go, okay, give us a bag of dog food for him, and we'll let him go.
Gee, sounds like the Royals, doesn't it?
Well, the Royals are awful. The A's are the worst right now. The Royals are right behind them.
I'm just thinking back in the day when the Royals had the ultimate outfield.
Oh, Damon.
Dye and Beltran.
Right. Got rid of all of them. And didn't they all go on to win World Series somewhere else?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. I don't understand how the Royals have any fans left. But, of course, they had those years later on
where they managed to just squeak it
They
out.
got to 2 World Series and won 1. It's like right now with the Nationals and the Cubs. Their fan bases are forgiving them right now for what they're doing because they say, okay, you guys won.
Got one, so we got one we'll give you a little decade. Time. Yeah, way too forgiving. They're a lot more forgiving than the Sox fans.
Well,
and we are... I'm done right now.
Please tell the people about the current status of the White Sox.
Sitting at 35-38 in third place, 6 games behind the Twins, with nothing going right except for last night when they wound up putting up 11 runs on the Angels. But injuries be damned. LaRussa's an idiot. The front office did not plan well accordingly. It's a major cluster. For a team with such high expectations, they might as well be put in league with the Royals, the Pirates, the Reds, and the Cubs. Even though they've spent the money, they're just ineptly run.
And the problem is that window's going to start closing.
Quickly.
I'd say they got a year, if not maybe 2.
Yeah.
A year, but 2 at the most.
I know injuries are the big thing, but even before all that took place, the guys are just not performing. And I'm sorry that comes down to the manager not doing his job.
Yeah, I think I'm finally on the bandwagon with you where they've got to get rid of LaRussa and hopefully land somebody next year who can take these guys and turn it around quick.
Perfectly that the front office didn't do enough to Tony-proof this team.
Well, you mentioned the Cubs. Cubs, of course, are a train wreck because, of course, we're going to be in rebuilding mode now for the next decade. 28-46, 14.5 games behind Milwaukee in 4th place. Right now, battling in a series with the Reds to see who'll be in last place.
Yeah, what was it? As of this morning, they had 2 games on the Reds in the win column.
In the win column. It's 1.5 overall. Yeah, you're right. 2 games in the win column, but 1.5 overall.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing that's working in their favor is, again, teams we've just mentioned, the Royals, the A's are so bad in the American League that the Cubs could stumble into the final month of the season and still be ahead of those 2 train wrecks.
Yeah.
Here's my problem with the Cubs before we move on to NASCAR. And I do want to talk about this AL rivalry that's developing again this year, which is fantastic, between the Yankees and the Astros.
This is getting good, yeah.
I just wanted, from a Cubs fan point of view, I want to point out why I'm so depressed about this quote-unquote rebuild as opposed to going back to 2013, 2014, that era, when Theo was rebuilding the team. Because back then, when he brought in Rizzo, when he drafted Chris Bryant, we kind of knew those guys were going to be good. We kind of knew we'd snookered the other team, especially the Rizzo deal. I think they traded Matt Karchner to the Padres for Rizzo.
Yeah.
And we kind of knew we got away with one on that.
Yeah, I felt the same way when the Sox gave you Karchner.
And then with Bryant, having all those high draft picks, Schwarber, you kind of knew this will work. Down the road, this will work. Add a piece here, add a piece there, with the exception of the idiotic signing of Jason Hayward, it all worked. But I have no confidence in this plan right now. Theo's gone. We've talked about it week after week.
Jed seems to be stumbling and bumbling his way through.
Well, Jed's not the one doing it anymore. He moved on. He's moved on and up.
Well, that's true.
So they've got another GM who's making these decisions, who's bringing in Marcus Stroman. An epic failure signing on the level, shorter term, of Hayward.
Ultimately, though, it falls on Hoyer.
It does. This is why I'm so depressed about the future of the Cubs. Is, again, we've talked about the fact they're more focused on the Ricketts care more about outside investment, outside interests, or building businesses up and around Wrigley to soak people for money outside of the fact that the team sucks ass.
Wait till next century.
Yeah, I've got my shirt. Just 2 before I die. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. I'm already thinking, along with the Bears, sell the team. I want Ricketts to sell the team. I want the McCaskies to sell the Bears. Give me an owner who gives a damn.
I agree. I can take that to the south side. Reinsdorf supposedly loves baseball. You ain't seeing it.
No, but he's played the loyalty game with La Russa.
Now that pisses me off, and that shows his heart is not in bringing this another championship to the south side.
Yeah, real quick, going back to the 2 best teams in baseball, liking what we're seeing in the American League with the Yankees. Finally, somebody out there, one team, is keeping these New York fans from getting too
full of themselves. Yeah,
as they always do. The evil empire always thinks they're the be-all, end-all.
Yeah.
Now, the Astros are doing a nice job of keeping both New York teams in check right now.
Yes,
Justin Verlander last night told the Mets, "You shut up.
Sit down, clown."
Yep. So now the Mets aren't all that they thought they were going to be in the National League. Now we get a nice little 1-game knockdown dragout in Houston between the Yankees and the Astros, a makeup game after a split this past weekend.
Yeah.
Where the Houston Astros no-hit the Yankees for basically a game and a half.
Yeah, that was a beautiful thing.
I want to keep these Yankees nut jobs in check. These sycophants who, oh my God, the Yankees are the greatest team ever. The world is right again. Fuck you!
Actually, baseball karma it's going to kick you guys in the nuts before the end of the season. You have not undergone any major injuries.
No, your rotation has been next to perfect.
Your rotation has been spot on. That, watch out. That's going to come back and bite you. You had a little hiccup with Stanton. Not the usual month season ending thing that he usually has. Judge has stayed healthy. Watch out. Watch out.
Yep, and of course, Aaron Judge, somehow, that was such a bizarre arbitration situation, drug on all the way into mid-June, and then they end up settling in the middle.
Yeah.
Team said 17, Judge wanted 21, they give him 19, and they give him a chance for $500,000 in incentives.
To make up the difference.
Yeah, if he wins the MVP, and then he wins the World Series MVP is $250.
Yeah.
If he stays healthy. If he stays healthy this year.
This is his year
he
for
is
the
going
MVP.
to look like one of those guys we've talked about in the past, like Joe Flacco, who bet on himself, who ends up cashing in. Because somebody, if the Yankees won't do it.
Somebody is going to get desperate. And remember, if he makes it through this season unscathed, it will be, I think, the only season he's made it unscathed.
Yep, and the perfect time to do it.
In a contract year.
Yep. All right, moving on to NASCAR. Finally, after a week off, racing resumes. We had Nashville last week.
It was kind of mildly entertaining up until the lightning strike early on, at which point I bailed on it because I'm not going to sit around on a weather-delayed race.
No. And then, of course, we had another delay later on.
Yep.
About 10 laps before halfway. So in that sense, I was happy. Because nobody likes a race where they just get to the halfway point and say, we're done.
Yeah.
Total of 3 hours in delays.
I had better things
race
to do.
Ended at 11:55 at night. I actually was lucky enough to wake up and see the last half of the race.
Yeah, by the end of the race, I was playing GT7.
Denny Hamlin had the pole. The Toyotas early on looked like they were going to dominate. And again, conspiracy theorists, have at it. I'm with you. I don't like how one manufacturer can shit the bed one week, as we talked about at Sonoma. Toyotas looked awful, especially the Gibbs Toyotas.
Yep, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Now they got screwed at the end because of cautions and when they fell and when their drivers pitted. That screwed up Kyle Busch. That screwed up Martin Truex. Hamlin got through it okay. Chase Elliott ends up winning.
Yeah, he wasn't much of a factor from...
He kind of laid in wait. And luckily...
things fell his way.
For our picks, Larson and Chastain, they were able to get back on the lead lap right before the big caution.
Yeah, so they...
I think it was Chris Buescher lost a tire.
Yeah.
And that's the one that really screwed things up towards the end.
Oh, gee, another lost tire.
Yeah,
there's
another
lost
tire.
Fix the damn hub, people.
So, interesting outcome. We'll get to our picks for Road America here in a second. Little news of dry. It's starting to get to silly season again. Let's put it that way. We're starting.
Silly season has been in effect for the last couple weeks.
So Martin Truex says he is going to be back with Joe Gibbs Racing for 2023. I figured it was going to be retirement or that.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was going to move on.
He wasn't going to
go
anywhere else.
No. They're still waiting on Kyle Busch. You figure
they're still waiting to nail down a sponsor.
Right. He'll come back. I thought this one was kind of interesting. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. gets a multi-year extension to come back with JTG Daugherty Racing. So,
interesting. I don't know that
Stenhouse really isn't a consistent playoff contender, and this year I don't think he's close.
No, I'm not. I've never been impressed with Stenhouse as a driver.
He's good. He's good on the super speedways. That's the only time I consider even thinking about taking him in.
And it's a distant thought.
But those guys are back with the teams that they have been with. I saw something, and I have to bring this up. Sorry. I'm going to burn up a little bit of time here before we move on to F1 and SRX and our picks for Road America. But there was a camera shot, and if this was political, this is garbage. This is absolute garbage. As the cars are going around the track, and I had my DVR, so I was able to rewind and look at it 2 or 3 times. There was a massive on property, so it was not somebody out in the lot beyond the racetrack. Somebody at Nashville decided they had a flag at half-mast upside down, an American flag at half-mast upside down. If that was because of and I'm not going to go into this, but if that was because of what I'm going to call the recent controversial Supreme Court decision, that's horseshit.
I'm so fed up with this crap.
But literally, I can go back on my DVR and show you what I'm talking about. There is a shot of a massive, huge American flag, and it is on Speedway property, half-mast, upside down.
Somebody should lose their damn job over that one.
Nobody's called it out. This is one of the few times I will say Sports Frenzy exclusive.
Someone should lose their damn job over a stunt like that.
All right, moving on to the road course this week. Race 18, July the 3rd, 2022. Once again, hope you have a great Independence Day weekend. Quick Trip 250 from Road America. Could be the last Road America race. As rumors are, they're going to dump Road America for the Chicago Street Course.
I'm sorry, it's 4th of July weekend. It should be the Firecracker 400 down at Daytona. I'm a traditionalist, damn it.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. And I think you and I are also with each other on our picks.
Yes, we are.
Shocking.
Back-to-back for the back-to-back win.
Yep. Again, not real comfortable with this, but because it hasn't happened a lot over the last 2 or 3 years, very rare to find somebody who actually can win back-to-back races, but it's a road course. I am going to have to go with my plan, as Dave, I believe, is going with his.
Yep, we had him penciled in weeks ago.
Chase Elliott for Road America. Bill, the Big Blue W, is with us as well. Still waiting on Jen and Nick. Of course, deadline for picks a couple hours away. Sam and Aaron are both going with Christopher Bell.
I wanted to, but I have not seen anything out of him yet this year to warrant it.
Well, I know with Sam, he had no choice. He's already used all his Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
Finally, Doug goes with Denny Hamlin.
Interesting.
So there you go, kids. One quick note on F1, and then I'm going to let Dave talk about the SRX race this past weekend. ESPN, as much as they seem to disdain road racing in all its forms and shapes and confederations, seem to like F1 a lot. They've locked down the rights to F1 through 2025.
Damn.
So
how much does F1 kick into their coffers for that one?
Only the mouse knows, Dave. Only the mouse knows. The rat.
Exactly.
All right, tell us about SRX Race 2 of the 2022 season from South Boston, Virginia.
South Boston was kind of a fun little track. The heat races were very entertaining.
Paul Tracy again.
You know what? Paul Tracy should demand a color change. Because that lime green car is not doing him any damn favors.
Oh, boy, that guy's snake bit. He is snake bit.
I mean, my God.
He comes out week 1. He says, I'm going to race mellow, and it doesn't work for him. Race 2, he comes out and says, I'm going to be back to my aggressive self. Doesn't work out.
I mean, ran okay in the first heat. Second heat, he's inverted, so he's up there, front row, doing great. And he gets taken out by Helio coming to the end of the second heat. Helio screws him out of another win like he did at Indy those years ago. Not that he's still bitter. He'll tell you every chance he gets he got hosed. But God.
Tony Stewart shows the old fire.
Damn, Smoke was on fire. He was hot.
The defending SRX champion decided to get a little upset, get a little mad after that second heat race.
Yep. What was it? Ernie Francis Jr. came right down across his front end. And Smoke did not take well to that. Roughed him up on the cool down lap thereafter and then confronted him in the pits after the heat race, grabbed the back of his fire suit and gave him a good talking to. And he was fired up in the interview with Willie T. Ribbs.
I love Willie T. Actually, I love Willie T. doing the pit
stuff.
The pit interviews.
Willie T. is awesome doing that.
Willie T. Ribbs is a perfect example of a guy who knows I don't have to talk a mile a minute to get my point across. The guy talks slow. He gets his questions in. And he waits for a response. Yep. I love the guy on the pits.
Oh, he's better. God, he might be phenomenal.
Better as a reporter, a pit reporter, than he was as a driver last year.
That's what I was thinking. Somebody, NBC, you need people. Willie T is there. And I think we have to conclude the SRX in our next segment as we're running short on time. Because I got a couple more points I don't have time to get to.
All right, kids, we will wrap up, as Dave said, SRX in the second segment. We will move on after that. We will discuss basketball, hockey, wrapping up that season, and a little bit of college football as we're getting close. We're getting close to football season. A lot of news coming out of the college ranks. Hang on. My main man, my brother from another mother, and I will be right back. Stay tuned. Feeling mildly fatigued? Need a day off even if you just took one a few days ago? Make $30 million a year but just don't want to work for it? You need to join the NBA Load Management Club right now. When they're not napping or texting, guest lecturers Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving will describe foolproof ways to earn tens of thousands of dollars by not doing anything. Sports Frenzy 2.0, available on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, is currently negotiating with LeBron James to bring his popular How to Make the Hall of Fame Without Really Trying webinar live and in person to the Load Management Club. Thanks again to Sports Frenzy 2.0 and all you apathetic fans out there for making us a success.
All right, kiddies, segment 2 of Sports Frenzy 2.0. Here on June 29th, this will hit on the 30th. I'm the Conquistador Dave Height.
Along with the maestro, Kevin Crane.
And as always, you can find us on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, CastBox, and Stitcher! All right.
We hope you have a great 4th of July weekend. Don't forget to check out the weekend edition. Check out the Facebook page. Yes. Leave us comments wherever, whenever you can.
Hero-gasm could come up.
Yes. Get the latest boys episode we will discuss this weekend. That will be dropping Saturday morning, the 2nd of July.
Hero-gasm, slight way to morph into SRX.
I don't know how you make that segue. I don't know how you do that.
There's a letter off in there.
There you go. There you go. Take the R out, put the E in, and you've got hero-gasm.
Boom, confetti.
Yep, all over
other
MM.
Things.
All over MM's jacket.
All right, let's finish up South Boston SRX. Things are setting up to get a little tense among a number of drivers through the rest of the SRX season. Marco Andretti lost his damn mind in the final, plowing into Biffle for no reason. Didn't try and move him out of the way, just tried to outright wreck him and took himself out of contention. Then you got Ryan Hunter-Reay, who not only took out Michael Waltrip, but hit Paul Tracy as well. So he's not making any friends out there either. But the final, it came down. Tony Stewart, as we alluded to, Smoke got pissed, said, look out, and he carried through, won the damn thing going away. Beautiful on the restarts on the outside. He was not going to be denied.
I still think Tony Stewart retired maybe a year or two too early.
I really think so.
And that's a tough call. It really is a tough call because you look at NASCAR right now, and you might look at a Kevin Harvick,
who's hung on a year or two too long.
You look at a Carl Edwards, who definitely retired too early.
Yeah.
It's a tough decision to make for these guys when to call it quits. They don't want to embarrass themselves.
They don't, and the schedule might have been... Tony probably wanted to play around with things like this at his leisure.
Right.
He loves sprint cars. He still runs those. He loves doing this. And he has the freedom to play around where he wants to.
And he might not have met his wife,
right?
If he'd stuck around in NASCAR.
Yeah.
So there are reasons, there are purposes. I'm not a religious guy, but there are forces at work that sometimes make you make decisions for a specific reason that work out for the better, hopefully.
Yep. And we forgot to mention, it was great to see Ryan Newman back behind the wheel of a car.
Right. A lot of features during the SRX coverage, especially about Newman's horrific crash back at Daytona a few years ago.
Yeah.
And he's got that car tucked away in a warehouse.
Yeah, it's in his collection as a reminder to himself how lucky he is at having a second chance and dedicating every bit to his family.
Yeah, and Ryan Newman, it's interesting because here up in northern Indiana, a lot of people that Dave and I know claim to have met Ryan Newman, claim to have hung out with him. I know people that said they've gone fishing with him. There are people that say he's I've heard people say he's a wonderful human being. I've heard others say he's a complete and total asshole. Which that's pretty much
anybody.
That's what they're going to say about Dave and I.
Exactly.
We say that about each other.
Exactly. On a regular basis. One minute you're the greatest human being, the next you're a piece of garbage.
Right. So, being from around this area, it's interesting to hear the national coverage of Ryan Newman. I think he looks like he's a decent guy. I think he looks like he's a really solid guy.
Yeah. He was always...
And I've always admired the way he runs.
I think he came off as kind of the ass because he was so driven and dedicated to what he was doing.
And I love, the one thing I really love about him on the track, which I would, if I could drive a car like that, if I could drive a car, is the hardest man to pass. He had the reputation as the hardest man to pass. And that's what I would be as well. I would never let anybody...
You're going to work for it. Yeah, if you want by me, earn it.
Yeah, I hate the whole, I'll let you go, and then maybe I'll get a better car later on a couple pit stops where my crew...
I'm going to race your ass.
I am going to make sure you don't get by me unless you earn it. That I always admired about Ryan Newman.
Old school racing.
Yep. And of course, Dave and I are looking forward to the return at some point here in the next 4 races of one Hailie Deegan.
She's pretty.
Because she's a great driver, Dave. She's a great driver.
She is. She is a phenomenal race car driver.
Oh, and did we mention she's pretty?
Yeah. No, she is really damn good.
She is. And I hope she becomes the next woman to make the Cup Series. I do.
I really do because she deserves it.
Yep. I would love to see it as much as, especially me, but both of us rail on PC garbage and how we're forced to indulge in this and that when it comes to checking boxes.
And an opportunity because, no, she deserves it because she's a damn good race car driver.
Absolutely. So we talked about the silly season in NASCAR. How about the silly season now this week in the NBA?
Yep, gearing up for free agency starting here tomorrow on the 30th.
Yes, again,
we get hosed. Taping a day too.
Everything happens on Thursday. What the hell, man?
Ugh.
We tape this, of course, on Wednesday, the 29th. The 30th is the start of free agency. So we have seen, of course, ridiculous money. I don't care who you're talking about, what team, what contract. The NBA players get ridiculous money, especially over the last decade. We've seen them, how they like to take their days off, the load management.
I think we've also discussed the stupidity of player options.
Right.
Because, of course, you've got Westbrook opting back with the Lakers for $47 million. And then our favorite NBA player for the Plane of Doom, Kyrie Irving, opting back to the Nets for $31.9.
Yep. Ugh. Then you've got
wasted money.
Then you've got James Harden and Bradley Beal, who turned down roughly the same amount of money that we're talking about. Some of these guys opt in. These two think they are so fantastic, they're opting out. They think tomorrow they're going to get extensions to get them even more money. Now, Bradley Beal, maybe. Washington, the Wizards are kind of stuck. You know, at least he's not a problem. He's not a cancer.
No, he's there trying his...
But if I was Philadelphia, I would just say, are you kidding me, Harden?
What have you done to even think you could possibly make any more on the free agent market?
You destroyed the Rockets, forced them to trade you. You destroyed the Nets, forced them to trade you. And now you think we're going to give you even more money to stick around?
You are an idiot.
I would rather build my team around 5 bench players who I think I could convince to play harder to try to earn this type of money down the road than I would want one idiot superstar like Harden, Kyrie Irving,
or Westbrook.
But again, like you said, great point. Player options.
Stupid.
Why are you giving these guys the option to take this kind of money to screw your franchise over? The Knicks cleared all this salary cap space out for Jalen Brunson.
Who?
He had one good run this past offseason, or the postseason for the Mavericks. He had like a 40-point game in their run in the playoffs. So now everybody thinks he's the next great point guard.
One game.
So seriously? They're considering offering him 4 years, $110 million.
Oh, my God.
Now, the Mavericks could keep him because they can offer him a 5th year and more money under the NBA insane rules.
Oh, my God. My head hurts.
In terms of coaching, my man Steve Clifford, of course, used to coach the Magic. He was in a no-win situation then because the Magic just had nothing to work with. Before that, he was a coach of the Hornets. Now he is coming back to the Hornets, second stint as their head coach.
There you go. Jazz have a new head coach. Celtics assistant Will Hardy will be the new head coach for the Jazz, the youngest coach in the league at 34. Good luck to him.
A lot of people are impressed with that coaching staff. Of course, same thing with Golden State. A lot of people looking at their assistant coaches.
Yep.
You got winners. You know.
Yep.
Your coach, the head coach is a winner. You figure some of that knowledge trickles down.
It doesn't always work, as we've seen all around every league, but you never know.
Yep. Final financial discussion with the NBA before we move on to our draft recap. We've talked about the idiocy of Westbrook and $47 million, him opting in, and Harden and Beal declining. And I think the John Wall contract situation might be the stupidest of all.
God, that was pathetic.
John Wall opts in with the Rockets. Neither the Rockets didn't want him. Wall didn't want to be with the Rockets. They're rebuilding, obviously, in huge rebuilding mode. So they said, we'll negotiate a buyout so you can go where you want. He was supposed to, I believe 2 weeks ago we talked about this. Wall, I think, made $47 million opting in. They settled to buy out his contract for $41. And then what's he do? He's going to go flip it around and sign for the $6 million with the Clippers. So he's going to make his $47 million and end up with a better team where he wanted to be originally.
Oh my God, that's absolutely freaking pathetic.
$41 million buyout on a $47 million player option.
That's stupid. That is absolutely stupid. That is no way to run your organization.
And you wonder why people like Dave and I hate the NBA. Hate the NBA. All right, real quick, we're going to talk about the draft. Not a big fan of what the Magic did with the first pick, but it wasn't the nuclear option that would have set me off. OKC got that at number 2. We'll get to that in a second. But the Magic at number 1 take Paolo Banchero, power forward from Duke. Supposedly the most NBA-ready player, but we've talked about him in the past. He's got an attitude.
He's got issues.
He was the one that got arrested along with Mike Krzyzewski's grandson on a DUI. That sends up red flags to me right away.
Because you don't know who was really driving.
But, again, it could have been worse. You could have got the 7-foot white guy who weighs 190 pounds.
The skeleton.
Yep.
Out of Gonzaga.
Yep, going to OKC, Chet Holmgren. Of course, I
know
Bruce
get
Bruce
pushed
Pearl
around
Bruce Pearl was trying to stick up for his guy who went number 3, Jabari Smith, power forward from Auburn, who I thought the Magic were going to take at number 1. He goes number 3 to the Rockets. But Bruce Pearl, his head coach, again, he's trying to stick up for his guy, but at the same time, dropping some pearls of wisdom. Where he said, I don't, like you're just alluding to, I don't see how Chet Holmgren holds up in the NBA with that body. No way.
He's too damn small. He's got the height, but there's no mass there.
They're enamored with the fact that he can shoot 3-pointers.
Who cares?
They're looking at him like Sean Bradley if he could shoot 3-pointers, is what they're looking at. Because we all know that's what the game has become. Can we shoot 3-pointers?
How about we play some damn defense and defend the rim?
I still think if I can get an easier 2 than launching 3s, I'm taking the 2. But that's me. I'm old school. 5 Duke players selected overall. Yeah, we'll let that go without comment. Notre Dame locally, Blake Wesley, the first one-and-done player at Notre Dame, gets selected number 25 in the first round to the Spurs. Yep, so you better be prepared to put up with Greg Popovich's ego and politics.
Yep, we wound up locally 2 local products going in the draft in the first round.
Right, Jaden Ivey.
Out of Purdue.
Was supposed to go 4th, actually slipped to 5th. Good for him because he went to a better situation with the Pistons, who are really looking good. He could have ended up in basketball hell with 4, which would have been Sacramento.
Nobody wants to go to Sacramento.
No. And you remember 20 years ago, they were the shit. When they had Chris Webber, I mean, they were a perennial challenger to come out of the West and go to the finals.
Yeah, but
look how far they've fallen. That will show you if you don't get that one pick, if you don't get that one superstar in the NBA.
Who can carry you for 10 plus years, you're hosed.
And that's where Sacramento is right now. Yep. Last little tidbit before we move on. Dave's going to talk about the NHL. I find this very funny. Kind of like the NFL with the practice squad signings.
Funny haha or funny ouch?
Just funny. Just
goofy.
Yeah. Sharif O'Neal, son of Shaquille O'Neal, and Scottie Pippen Jr., son of Scottie Pippen, both signed with the Lakers. I guess they're developmental deals. They call them two-way contracts.
Yeah. So basically they're D-leagues.
They weren't drafted, so yeah. They will play the summer league to see if they can make the roster, but we'll talk about another prodigy from the tree of a very, very prominent athletic family here in a minute. But I just find it funny that Shaq's kid and Scottie Pippen's kid couldn't get drafted. Oh, but Bronny coming up in a couple of years. Oh, God, we're going to all slobber over him.
Maybe, if he's any damn good.
All right, Dave, tell the people who won the Stanley Cup.
Congratulations to the Colorado Avalanche for knocking out the Lightning 4-2. Ends the Lightning's attempt for a three-peat. The Avs' first championship since 2001. And what do? They promptly drop the Stanley Cup on the ice and dent it right before the team photo. Did not even get through the team photo before it got damaged. Oh my God, that's pathetic. But congratulations to the Conn Smythe winner, Cale Makar, as the overall MVP for the postseason. Very well done. Hall of Fame class. Heavily coming out of the Vancouver Canucks. You've got the Sedin twins, Daniel and Heinrich, and Roberto Luongo. So, good for them. Loved beating up on them and making them cry every year when the Hawks were actually good and knocking them out of the playoffs. Speaking of the Hawks, they have their 40th head coach just announced. Luke Richardson, former defenseman who 1,400 games in the NHL and has been an assistant coach with Ottawa Senators, the New York Islanders, and most recently the Montreal Canadiens, helping them get into the postseason and the finals. And when their head coach was down with COVID, he filled in as the head coach. So he's got some experience. We'll see if it pays off.
Do you have a feel? How do you feel about it? I mean, that's your
team,
man.
We'll wait and see. I have no idea. It's a crapshoot, whoever you bring in. So
yeah, it's kind of like anytime the Magic hire a new head coach, I'm like, I don't know who this guy is.
I knew coming in when Quenneville came in, it was going to be great because he had a solid reputation.
Right.
Colleton coming in from the AHL, I did not like that, and he thoroughly met my low expectations. So we can only go up.
Yep. Yeah, there's very few times when you hire a head coach or a manager and you know pretty much what you're getting. Now, I don't presume to speak for like the Mets fans, but I knew when they got Buck Showalter, I'm like, there's no way in hell they're going to be worse. They got to get better. Well, Buck Showalter knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's always
like when the
had
Cubs brought in Joe Madden, I knew at least we're going to get better. I don't know how better, but we're going to get better.
Yeah, you got him before he started, right as he bought into his own hype and tried to outcoach himself.
He got us one. We got one. The one thing about the Avalanche, and of course I'm not ripping on the Avalanche. I really don't care one way or the other, outside of the fact, for you, I would like the Blackhawks to win every year. That would make you happy. It would make you egomaniac, and I wouldn't put up with you, and I'd probably stop hanging out with you. But do you know who owns part of the Avalanche?
Yes.
Stan Kroenke.
The dumbass who owns the Rams.
So now he's probably got hookers to the left, hookers to the right, cocaine in front of him, a keg behind him.
Yeah,
and he's still just screwed over the city of St. Louis within the last decade.
The asshats who get lucky continue to get lucky. Sometimes there's no justice or karma when you would love to see it.
No justice, no peace. Yeah, a lot of people pissed off about that.
Whatever.
All right.
How about you present me with an intelligent conversation? Know what you're talking about instead of, fuck you, fuck this, fuck that. That is not an intelligent way to communicate your point.
Oh, we've got more of that coming up. Trust me. In the next segment, we've got a lot more about that.
That's just a preview. Weekend edition, kids.
College football. We're getting close. We're getting close, kids. And, of course, the most coveted recruit. We were talking about Bronny in basketball. This recruit puts Bronny to shame. Arch Manning.
Uh-oh.
Arch Manning has committed to the Texas Longhorns.
Wow.
The nephew of Peyton and Eli will be going to Texas. And the minute he announced that, the Longhorns got, within a few days, 8 more high-level commitments.
All receivers and offensive linemen.
I know the lineage. I know we're talking about the pedigree of possibly the greatest football family in NFL history, but that's a lot of pressure to put on this kid.
I know, and God. And his dad is supposedly the more athletic of the brothers.
Cooper.
Cooper's supposed to have been the most athletic of the three, but that neck injury.
So this will make the SEC even more interesting because, of course, by the time he gets in, Texas will be in the SEC. Speaking of the SEC, one of our two favorite head coaches got a contract extension and a raise, so we will be able to listen to more of the gems of wisdom that drop out of the mouth of Mike Leach, the Pirate. Mississippi State does the right thing and says, we like Mike Leach. We're keeping him around for a while.
Yeah, so we get to hear him talk more about the fat little girlfriends. Are the Pirates back?
Now, finally, the biggest news here. We got about 5 minutes left in this segment, but Dave and I need to discuss this. And again, I alluded to this with him earlier. The Big Ten needs to jump on this. The Pac-12 has already done this, and now this week, the ACC came out and said no more football divisions starting in 2023. They've already put out a 4-year schedule. They've got a solid, perfect plan. I don't know how this affects Notre Dame, but a 3-5-5 format will now be in place starting in 2023 for the ACC. You have 3 permanent foes every year. 3 teams you will play every year. 5 and 5 means you will play 5 teams home, flip 5 teams away. The 5 from the year before, now you go the other way.
Right.
Home or away. You will play everybody outside of your 3 rivals every other year, home and away.
I love it.
It's a brilliant, sensical strategy. It
should be.
Miami,
dump the damn divisions within your conference.
Yep.
Dump the damn conference championship. You don't need the extra headache of it.
I think you're still getting the conference championship.
No!
It's just going to be the 2 best records instead of the 2 conference winners. Again, this is why the Big Ten needs to do this as soon as possible, because they are the ones that have screwed this all up.
Yeah, they've effed it up big time.
Miami's 3 rivals. I'm not sure how I feel about 2 of them. We know the one. Florida State. We knew Florida State and Miami every year.
That's natural.
Every year they play anyway. The other 2 rivals, I would have liked Virginia Tech. I think Miami and Virginia Tech have a rivalry. But they said they were trying to keep things a little bit tighter geographically, which doesn't make any
always
sense.
Make sense.
No, especially when you got Syracuse way up there in the Northeast. So Miami gets Florida State, Louisville, and Boston College as their 3 rivals.
Why the hell does Louisville come in on that?
I told you, I thought Va-Tech would have been
makes
more of a
no
rival.
Damn sense.
I thought Va-Tech would have been more of a rival for Miami.
Boston College I don't see that as a major rivalry. Do you?
No. I'm just glad we didn't get Clemson. I'm cool with that. Yeah, I'm just glad we don't have to play Clemson every year. That's fine with me.
God, that's...
But yeah, the 3-5-5 format makes a ton of sense. The ACC actually, as smart as they are, and I believe they are, one of the smarter Power 5 conferences. Yes, they don't have the money, the backing of the SEC, but they put out a graphic. They put out a very simple explanation of how this all worked.
It all worked. Boom.
Yep.
It doesn't take a NASA scientist to figure it out.
Right. I still don't know how this affects Notre Dame. There are still open slots for everybody in the ACC.
Right.
Outside of the 8 games they're penciled in for every year, so Notre Dame can still jump in here and there.
Boom.
But the ACC did not even address Notre Dame in this at all.
Yeah, because they won't make a commitment to a conference.
Nope. They're like a fat little girlfriend.
That's right.
Well, I won't commit to you, because,
but
I'm supposed to go see Tommy at the party Saturday night, and he's supposed to take me out for like lobster and steak. So, I can't really commit to you.
Yeah.
All you're offering me is Taco Bell and a 6-pack of Little Kings.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Nobody should be subjected to that. Nobody.
I do David like that.
No one.
Going back to our adolescent history.
No one should be subjected to Little Kings, period.
With Taco Bell. Oh my
God. That's even... Ugh.
Oh, Lord. You better have a fan. You better have Renews It. You better
All you can say is, can I have some more beans, Mr. Taggart? That's just over the top. All right.
Big Ten, it's all on you. You've got to fix your conference next.
Be like Slim Pickens and do the right thing.
That's right. Third segment coming up, of course, as always. Moments of silence. Dumbasses. Stay tuned. Dave and I will be right back. Hey kids, ready for a blast of dairy goodness? Pick up Sports Frenzy 2.0 milk at your local grocery store. Remember, when you drink Sports Frenzy 2.0 milk, you're not only enjoying a healthy treat, you're helping to locate missing sports heroes of the past and present. Our cartons and jugs feature pictures of Peng Shuai, Ryan Leaf, and Sammy Sosa as we do our part to find the lost icons of the last 30 years. And don't forget our special weekend edition chocolate milk containers, available on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, because they feature celebrities like Lindsay Lohan, Helen Hunt, and Jean-Claude Van Damme. Pick up a gallon today. Hey everybody, it's time to wrap things up here. Sports Frenzy 2.0 taping on June the 29th, 2022. This will hit the morning of the 30th. And again, have a great 4th of July Independence Day weekend. Remember about our freedoms. Don't abuse it. Don't be an ass. And of course, that's all we're going to talk about pretty much this segment, are people being assholes. But this man is not an asshole. He is a conquistador, Dave Height.
This guy isn't an asshole. He's the maestro, Kevin Crane.
All right, NFL news. Stupid money, stupid money, stupid money. I don't even think Terry McLaurin is one of the top 10 receivers in the league. Again, the Washington Commanders find a way just when you think they can't drain any more money out of the stupid pool. They find a way to do it. Terry McLaurin gets a 3-year extension. Remember, Carson Wentz is going to be throwing the ball to him. Keep that in mind. 3-year extension for Terry McLaurin, roughly $71 million. Think about that in terms of per year. $28 million signing bonus. 76% of this contract extension is guaranteed.
Why? What has he done?
This is the one thing the Bears don't do that I appreciate out of them. This is the one thing the Bears do not get suckered into that I can say I agree with.
Overpaying
these
mediocre,
egotistical receivers.
Mediocre, egotistical receivers. People who haven't done jack crap. This guy is not a household name.
Like I said, is Terry McLaurin even a top 10 receiver in this league? And now,
I had to ask, who the hell is he?
And here's my question now. With this kind of money going to Terry McLaurin, and we talked about it a couple months ago, Deebo Samuel,
God.
Deebo Samuel's 10 times better than Terry McLaurin. How the hell does San Francisco react to this? How the hell does Deebo Samuel react to this?
They go, San Francisco goes, are you out of your goddamn minds? And Samuel's going, oh yeah, baby, bring it.
Yep.
Absolute stupidity.
We have seen so many dumb wide receiver contracts this offseason.
It's pathetic.
Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill. I mean,
the money is stupid.
You can make an argument that a great receiver does change the game, but not
for that kind of damn money when you're ruining the rest of your team. When you don't have the resources to put around them, it's pointless. I mean, Kansas City Prime example with the stupid money they gave Patrick Mahomes. They couldn't afford to keep Hill around. Ugh.
We'll see how this plays out. This is just dumb, in my opinion, for the Commanders, because if Carson Wentz can't get the ball to anybody.
Oh, no. I think he's got a weaker arm than even Tua.
Deshaun Watson. Disciplinary hearings started Tuesday. They continued through today. We have not heard anything.
No.
But supposedly the NFL wants a minimum of a 1-year ban.
Minimum. You know what? What would be right and just? You give him a 4-game suspension on every count brought against him. Four games for every count. 4 times 25.
You know what Rusty Harden's going to say? Only 4 civil suits left, so that's 16 games. That's 1 year.
Nope, I want one for everyone that was brought against him. If you had to settle, guess what? You're still serving a suspension for it.
You know what I would like to see? It'll never happen, but if there was a truly just karmic entity in this world, for every paycheck that Deshaun Watson loses because of this, even if it's that bullshit $1 million workaround that the Baker Mayfield gets the money.
Well, yeah, because Baker says,
I'm done. I'm not coming back. I'm not going to be your backup bitch.
No, they've already signed Jacoby Brissett.
Right. Yeah, and I think I screwed that up. I thought it was Tyrod Taylor. It's Jacoby
Brissett.
Yeah.
Really? Really?
Yeah. Sorry. Speaking of Jacoby Brissett, this is where, and I know you guys are going to call me a hypocrite because we curse and we swear and we say awful, terrible things on this show. But we're not getting paid by Fox or NBC or CBS or ABC or ESPN. We're doing this for fun. Now, if you want to pay us, we're more than happy to talk about it. But
we'll clean everything up.
Yeah. Martellus Bennett, who is on one of these shows, on one of these networks, came out talking. He's so bitter going back to the year. Remember the year where Tom Brady couldn't play and Jimmy Garoppolo stepped in?
Yep.
But there was a game where Garoppolo couldn't play because he said he was injured. And Brissett had to step in.
Uh-huh.
Martellus Bennett was on that Patriots team, and multiple times on this podcast clip from this week, Martellus Bennett says Jimmy Garoppolo was a bitch. He said he didn't want to play because he's a bitch. Who wants to play with Jimmy G because he's a bitch? Again, number one, these guys are getting paid tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this is the analyst you're getting, is he's a bitch. They're not breaking the game down. They're not looking at the game film and telling you this guy did something wrong. No, they're calling people a bitch. Let that sink in for a second, and before you start criticizing us for our language. But now, after you get beyond that, what does that say about wanting Jimmy G as your starting quarterback going forward for any team, let alone the 49ers? This kind of explains to me a little bit more of why the 49ers, even though Trey Lance doesn't look ready, they want to push him in. They want
to push Garoppolo out. Is his heart really in it?
The problem is all these people on the Subway commercials telling him he's such a good-looking dude. Stop feeding his ego, for the love of God.
No kidding. Come on, that's insane.
Great rumor I heard this week, by the way, tying into this. Straight up trade. Cleveland, San Francisco, Garoppolo for Mayfield. Garoppolo plays the year
that
when Watson's suspended.
Out.
Now Mayfield has to be the backup to Trey Lance.
That's not going to last long.
But again, that's only a year.
It's only a year. Why not?
Because they could eat the $18 million. I believe it's 18.
Because the Panthers and the Browns can't come to a resolution for Mayfield.
No. It's going to get fun, kids. It's going to get fun.
It's going to get interesting. Speaking of interesting, how about Adrian Peterson and Le'Veon Bell signing a contract for a heavyweight exhibition boxing match coming up at the end of July? Taking each other on in an undercard. Won't count as a professional bout for either one of them, but I'm intrigued to see what they have.
July the 30th.
Yep. On the undercard for another stupid social media guru.
YouTube fighters. Yeah, I was going to say.
More bullshit. This is going to be more entertaining than the main event. Crazy.
Of course, the Bears. We can't go a few weeks without the Bears doing something stupid. Matt Eberflus, of course, came over from the Indianapolis Colts, showing his loyalty to his former team. Brought over one of his former players, linebacker Matt Adams. Matt Adams gets arrested on misdemeanor firearm possession charges this week. Once again proving the Chicago Bears could be one of the three most dysfunctional teams.
Chicago's got some stupid rules, too. Now, if he had a legitimate carry permit in Indiana, if he's in Chicago, they're not going to recognize that. So I can't fully fault him for this without knowing more of the details.
But again, just stay out of trouble. Just stay out of trouble.
Yeah, well, Dan Snyder's trying to do that.
We're not going to be a playoff team, so the best you can do, try to be Boy Scouts. Try to be the nicest, cleanest team in the league.
Do something decent.
Yeah, do something positive.
At least you're not the Commanders. Dan Snyder's lawyer declined accepting a subpoena from the House committee because it wasn't convenient timing for them. Excuse me, you're subpoenaed to appear. You don't get to dictate when you go. You go when you are told to go. This is complete crap. And now they're trying to negotiate when he's going to go? No, bullshit. Hold this asshole accountable. Drag his ass in. Be done with it.
Yeah.
I'm sick of this crap.
I had him down as a dumbass. But it's a two-parter. So the part that started this whole thing to me was that the original hearing where Roger Goodell was getting grilled over the TV monitor, you know, he wasn't there either, but at least he showed up.
He showed up in some respect.
And they're saying, why can't you remove him? I don't have that power. Where is Mr. Snyder? They found out Daniel Snyder at the time of that initial hearing was on a yacht at a French resort during that House Oversight Committee hearing. And then it led into what you're talking about, where they subpoenaed his ass.
And his lawyer declined it.
Because he's going to be out of the country on other business.
The lawyer was going to be out of the country.
Right, you're right.
Yeah.
Right.
Bullshit.
This is fucking Congress.
You don't tell them what to do. They tell you what to do. Sorry, they should pull the less used option, go nuclear, and put the U.S. Marshals on both their asses and drag them in cuffs.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, but you or I,
we don't get that option.
Audience members out there, we don't have that kind of recourse.
Because we don't have money.
If the government comes after us and they subpoena our asses,
we say,
can't
how
say,
many times?
Well, I got plans to be at a Motley Crue concert that day, so you're going to have to work around my schedule. They're going to say, here's an idea, tear the fucking ticket up and show up at Congress before our committee. Dan Snyder doesn't seem to think the rules apply to him. And this is, again, why there's so much anger and vitriol in this country, here on this show, everywhere, is because of pieces of shit like Dan Snyder and his fucking lawyer.
Bingo. Well said. Guess what? Amazon has announced a new member of their Thursday night crew.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Your favorite.
The woman that dresses like she wants to get banged by every...
No.
No, Kay Adams? No,
I got another one.
Yeah, okay.
He's going to be doing pregame, halftime, and postgame. You said
he. Oh, God. Now I'm scared. Because I thought you were going with Carissa Thompson.
No.
I heard Carissa Thompson is coming over from Fox. I don't know where Kay Adams is going. I'm still trying to find my beautiful Kay Adams somewhere.
I know, but your favorite guy, Aqib Talib, is going to Amazon doing pre-halftime and post-game coverage.
So they're going to have Aqib Talib and Richard Sherman?
Yep.
Oh, my God!
I knew that would give you an aneurysm.
My mute button on my remote is going to get a workout on Thursday nights. No, I'd heard Carissa Thompson had been hired in to host the pre- and post-game show with Fitzpatrick and Gonzalez.
And now Aqib.
And Sherman and Talib. And the first thing I thought was, well, which one of those four should be banging first? Because she loves to dress like she's about ready to go on Bourbon Street asking $30 for a hand job. Sorry, you can call me a sexist all you want. Look at how the woman dressed every week on Fox.
Gee, I think there was a former Chicago...
She wore lingerie to work, people. She wore lingerie to work.
What, wasn't there a Chicago sports radio personality who lost his job commenting on a female reporter dressing like she was hosting the Adult Video Awards?
Yeah. And we want to treat everybody the same. We want to treat everybody equally.
How about you dress respectfully for your position?
Yeah. If Tony Gonzalez comes out in a Speedo, then I guess everything's equal. Oh, I just threw up on my mouth a little bit. All right, one last NFL tidbit before we move on. Unfortunately, still staying negative, but in a good way, because my man from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Warren Sapp, not known to hold back. And in this case, I'm with him 100%. He calls out the media coverage from a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, the whole Colin Kaepernick workout with the Las Vegas Raiders. God. He was on a podcast this week, and he told the podcast host that he heard that workout was a disaster. That's a quote. It was a disaster. And he's asking, why is there no footage of this workout? If he was so great, if everybody's clamoring to sign Colin Kaepernick as a backup,
why aren't we
in
seeing
this day
what
and
he
age,
can do?
where there are cameras everywhere, cell phones everywhere, recording everything, why is there no footage of Colin Kaepernick's workout with the Raiders? Warren Sapp, and I agree with him, probably because it sucked.
Yeah, probably couldn't hit a damn pass.
That's okay, Nike. Why don't you give him another $100 million to be, the face of your stupid ass company that uses slave labor in China, but nobody will talk about that because we're too busy ripping golfers for taking Saudi blood money, right? That's wrong, but what you do is right. Fuckers.
Isn't that amazing?
Hypocritical fuckers.
Yep. Hey, did you hear the NFL also hired a new sports betting executive? What a bunch of crap is that? David Highhill now is supposed to protect the integrity of the game when it comes to betting. What a bunch of horse shit.
You and I have talked about the fact that we are not bettors. We do not bet. We do not like the betting. Now, people can do what they want. We're not saying...
Get it off the fucking commercials. We're tired of seeing it everywhere.
I mean, seriously, what's next? Heroin commercials?
Fentanyl. Why
seriously.
Not?
You pick it. Everybody in this country, all these media conglomerates, these networks, they pick and choose when to fight their moral battles. It's amazing. They love gambling all of a sudden.
God forbid how many you smoked a cigarette.
How many thousands upon thousands of people have lost their lives, lost their families
to gambling
because they came up empty and they lost everything betting on sports.
How many
they committed suicide or they lost their children. Oh, but we'll put a little disclaimer at the end saying, if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLE.
Blah. Absolute crap.
All right, let's move on to some different stuff.
Please.
We've got more negativity coming, but somebody I want to praise, even though I've never 100% agreed with some of the things she said. She is, if not the greatest female athlete of all time, one of the top 2 or 3. 40 years old, tried to get through Wimbledon here. Serena Williams got knocked out in the first round at Wimbledon. She might come back and try another major, but I just want to give her props right now. She is one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant female athlete I've ever seen. I made fun of Sue Bird a week or 2 ago. Serena does not get mocked. Serena
has put up the numbers.
Second all time, 23 majors.
She's phenomenal.
She's the shit. So if this ends up being the last we see of Serena in a major, just like probably we're going to end up dealing with Roger Federer here soon in the same way, if he ever comes back, 2 of the greatest tennis has ever seen.
Yes, completely agree.
Real quick, we're not going to go into golf too much this week, but the LIV Tour battle continues. Now, the Scottish Open has banned all the LIV players.
Whatever.
Locally, Notre Dame lost their baseball coach, Link Jarrett, moving on to Florida State. He's from there, so it kind of makes sense. Now, overall in the College World Series, of course, Jarrett got the job at Florida State because he got Notre Dame into the World Series. The overall winner ends up being Mississippi as they sweep Oklahoma. So congrats to Ole Miss. Although I want to ask you something. Why? We just had Ohio State trademark the Ohio State University, right?
So damn stupid.
Why is it everybody calls Mississippi Ole Miss? It's the University of Mississippi. They're not Ole Miss. Because now you're opening up a door where every school can change their name to whatever they want. I am not calling Mississippi Ole Miss. They are Mississippi University to me.
There's Mississippi and Mississippi State. Boom.
That's it. Ole Miss. Screw Ole Miss. It's the University of Mississippi. They won the College World Series, not Ole Miss. If I can't call the U, then the hell with Ole Miss. And the hell with the Ohio State University.
I told you. Ohio State can have the. Miami gets the. It's all in the pronunciation, kids. And it's bullshit trademarking a damn word that everybody uses.
An article. The most used article in the English language.
The trademark office should be ashamed of themselves for allowing this bullshit to go through.
All right, real quick. Still a mess in Russia with Brittany Griner.
Oh, God.
This Friday, her trial starts. I don't know what to make of this. The detention, though, got extended 6 months. Is the trial going to last? I was going to say, how does the trial's going to last 6 months? Is that what they're saying? If they can extend her detention 6 months, but the trial's starting Friday.
I have no damn idea what they're doing. It's all a political game.
Yep. All right, moments of silence. One big one here in sports. The first black quarterback in the AFL, Marlon Briscoe, passed away this past week.
Yep, played for the Denver Broncos. Thoughts and prayers to his family and friends.
And then finally, of course, as always, each and every week, if we don't have these, then there's something wrong with Sports Frenzy, because we have to call out the dumbasses of the week in tribute to Red Foreman.
Yes, we do.
All right. Now, Dave got one of mine earlier. I think I got one of his earlier. Let me do a couple marketing ones first, and then I'll let you go.
Oh, I've got a big one.
I went to school for advertising and marketing. So anytime companies or people screw up when it comes to marketing, it drives me insane. And of course, my first has to be our favorite dumbass, Naomi Osaka.
Oh, here we go again.
Naomi Osaka,
the first lady of dumbasses.
I like that. I like that. She announces her new media venture is going to be called Hanakuma.
What?
In Japanese.
Hakuna Matata?
In Japanese, Hanakuma means flower bear. Okay? All well and good. The problem is she didn't do enough research because it has a different meaning in Swahili. In Swahili, Hanakuma means woman without a vagina. So once again, Naomi Osaka, who decides when and if she's got the mental capacity to play tennis, has now her own, sports marketing venture. She can't even do the research to figure out that she's calling her company Woman Without a Vagina.
Now, wouldn't it be Flower Without a Vagina?
Now, I do have to call out my other one is SRX. I do have to call this out because, and I know I'm being nitpicky here. You can't beat Naomi and Woman Without a Vagina, but I was watching the race Saturday, and I find this stupid. Helio Castroneves is driving around in a car with Michael Waltrip's name all over it.
Did you not hear?
I heard why, but I still think it's idiotic because Michael Waltrip's got a brewing company. I get that, but that's stupid. You should. Why doesn't Michael Waltrip put Michael Waltrip's brewing company on Michael Waltrip's car?
Because that would be a conflict of interest.
How is it a conflict of interest?
Know.
It's confusing.
I'm making this up.
The casual fan is not going to be able to figure out that the car that says Michael Waltrip on it
being
is
driven by Helio Castroneves.
Dumbass.
There we go. All right. Australian tennis player Nick Kyrgios. This fuckstick. Sorry, there's no other way to describe him. Being the dumbass that he is. After his first round win at Wimbledon, spit at fans because he claims they were harassing him. Then, he asked for fans to be removed during the match as well because this snowflake can't deal with hecklers. Then he goes after a line judge, calling him an old man who can't see anything because he supposedly missed a call. Sorry, dude. They actually have computers that help with that. So, seriously, figure your shit out.
My question is, if he's so offended by the hecklers, isn't it making him a hypocrite for him to turn around and call the line judge an old man and spit at the fans?
Yes.
He doesn't want to be abused. He doesn't want people
But he's going to heap abuse on everybody else.
Nick Kyrgios, you're a dumbass.
Big time.
Finally, we have to go back into this realm as we wrap up Sports Frenzy 2.0. Check out the weekend edition. We have got Billy Joel in concert, a review of the Notre Dame Stadium show. and Beavis and Butthead to the universe. But my final dumbass. Again, stop it with the transgender men competing in athletics. LA trans 29-year-old man. He has 3 kids. He's a combat veteran. Won a skateboarding competition in New York. You know who he beat? A 13-year-old girl.
Oh, come on!
A 29-year-old Los Angeles trans man. 3 kids, combat veteran, beats a 13-year-old girl in a woman's skateboarding competition. And this was a guy who was rejected from Olympic competition because he couldn't reach the necessary levels of testosterone, being low.
Gee, I'm sure whatever you call them, is proud of itself for beating a 13-year-old girl. Wow. Very good.
Yeah.
Wow, the level of competition. You must really suck.
Again, we want everybody to be equal, but this is the opposite of that. This is what Dave and I try to fight for when we bring these things up on the show. This is not equality. This is not a fight for equality. This is inequality.
It's
beating a 13-year-old girl. Like Dave said, I hope this idiot feels proud of himself, herself, itself, because I find it disgusting.
It's pathetic on every level.
Check out the weekend edition.
We'll check you out next week.
See you, kids.